Hello everyone, good day. This is a video presentation of one of the theories used in critical discourse studies, which is systemic functional linguistics. And first, I will be discussing its aims and applications. Systemic functional linguistics has specific theoretical principles and is aiming to increase and understand of how human language works. Systemic functional linguistics is not a type of critical discourse studies, but rather an independent discipline with features that CDA practitioners have applied predictably to understanding how discourse works. The theoretical approach in SFL focuses on the meaning-making resources of language within specific social and cultural contexts. It is concerned with social action or what people do with language. Basically, it pertains to the use of language in social interaction. It uses the term lexicogrammar to encapsulate the idea that vocabulary or lexis is inextricably linked to grammatical choices that are available in a language. So systemic functional linguistics claims that the semantic networks, which are social and cultural constructs, carry meaning potential, which is unfolded within texts, either spoken or written, in specific contexts of situation. So in SFL, meaning fulfills the three overarching components of the semantic system known as metafunctions. And it comprises of ideational, interpersonal, and textual. So this means that the study of discourse cannot be separated from the study of the grammar that lies behind it. So let's proceed to the relevance of systemic functional linguistics to CDA. So systemic functional linguistics deals with the role of language as a social construct according to known critical linguists such as Kress, Hodge, Kohler, et al. Fairclough supports transdisciplinary work of SFL, in which, for example, linguists engage in text analysis, enter into dialogue with discourse analysts, and maybe with specialists from other relevant disciplines in order to develop their own theories and research agendas. So he listed 10 questions concerning the lexis, grammar and textual features, and grammar questions being closely drawn from systemic functional grammar. So Fairclough has always been concerned with modern clause and sentence grammar and has worked with instances of authentic language, either recorded or written, rather than with examples constructed by the linguist. Halliday and Hassan published a book in 1976 entitled Cohesion in English. This book drew attention to the many aspects of English that can't be accounted for by those traditional grammars that merely describe and classify words, sentences, and their constituent parts. So this book also mentioned the term appraisal. It is a word which covers the analysis of the way in which speakers or writers express their attitude or positively or negatively evaluate proposals in a discourse. The evaluation can relate to either interpersonal or ideational meaning. So one of the criticisms is that critical discourse studies have become so diffuse that most practitioners can appreciate only a minority of the publications and there is little sign of the clarity and consensus. While acknowledging the earlier contribution of SFL to CDA, Van Dyke objects to SFL as a framework for the study of discourse, in part because it involves too much linguistic or lexicosyntactic sentence grammar and too much esoteric vocabulary. So Van Dyke takes a socio-cognitive approach to CDA and points to the distinction between his position and Halliday's with regard to psychological interpretation. So Van Dyke is concerned about what he sees as the anti-mentalist position of SFL. And Van Dyke is also interested in individual mental models, which deals with the intentions, purpose, and goals. Traditional SFL position would be that the job of the linguist is to account for how the language system provides the means for Blair's presentation of his identity, political action, social attitudes, and so on to be realized linguistically, but that the analyst has no way of establishing the true nature of Blair's internal mental model. Halliday's model of lexicogrammer has always incorporated work on mutual knowledge, sometimes called common ground, as part of information structure. Blumark refers to what he calls the problem of linguistic bias in CDA. So the emphasis on linguistic analysis implies on an emphasis on available discourse and discourse which is there. Others have argued that CDA may need closer account of aspects of social context in combination with any linguistic analysis. Blumark's position is that critical discourse studies, including his own work, does not need the analysis of recorded text since it is focused on the socio-historical and ethnographic basis of power and identity and on the global structures of inequality. So let's move on to SFL and context. So the SFL theory of context appears deceptively simple and limited, being based on the notions of field, tenor, and mood. When we say field, it is the term employed for the subject matter of any text involved in a discourse event. And when we say tenor, it is the term used that pertains to the social status of those involved in the discourse and the nature of the relationship between speaker and listener or writer and reader. And for the mode, it deals with the channels, speech or writing, online or film, but may include diagrams, emoticons, or even toy. And mode has also been applied to the rhetorical role played by language users in specific contexts, such as the following: instructional, explanatory, persuasive, critical, apologetic, and so on. And let's proceed to the lexical-grammatical tools for text analysis. So SFL attempts to describe and explain multiple aspects of meaning and to show how they relate to each other. And there are three main components in the text analysis of lexical-grammatical tools. So we have additional component that deals with the analysis of the linguistic elements that express experience of the world and of our own consciousness. And these are the resources that enable us to organize, represent, and understand our perceptions of the world. And we also have interpersonal component. It refers to the analysis of the linguistic elements that express roles, attitudes, demands, and social and personal relations. And this is seen as acting out social relationships. And lastly, we have textual component. It refers to the analysis of the linguistic elements that serve to construct cohesive and coherent chunks of language in use. So it refers to the reference, rhetorical structure, theory, and thematic structure. And also, in lexicogrammatical tools for text analysis, there are various meanings of the word that we can analyze depending on how the writers or speakers use them in specific contexts. In the examples that I'm going to show you, there are various meanings of the word deflation depending on the structure of the sentence and other elements in the context. So here are the sentences that will be used as examples for our analysis. So we have UK falls into deflation, UK's period of deflation to recover within weeks, and will deflation affect your lifestyle? For example, number one, deflation is seen as an undesirable place which is seen in the new information. Okay, in the sentence, the word false is being used and it infers a negative implication about the word deflation. And example number two, the word deflation gives a positive message representing a speedy recovery. So as you can see here, UK's period of deflation to recover within weeks. So it contains a positive meaning because that is how the sentence being structured and how the word recover used in the sentence that associated with the word deflation. And example number three, it is a question addressed directly to the readers, presumably to attract them to an article relating deflation to their personal circumstances. It clearly illustrates the interpersonal function of the interrogative clause and differs grammatically from the first two examples. So as you can see here in the sentence, this is in interrogative form and it asks question about the personal impact of deflation to their life. And another elements in text analysis which are lexis and collocation. The component of grammar has been a major significance in SFL. The derogatory and discriminatory use of gendered language and abusive racial terminology, environmental discourse, and the ways in which actual and metaphorical space are discursively constructed, collocation, connotation, and usage in specific varieties and contexts, ethnographic techniques, and SFL analysis of imposed lexical choices, and other aspects of lexical study of interest have been collocation, connotation, and usage in specific varieties and contexts. Music collocation, it concerns the specific context of a word and the way the combination of words in a phrase can carry significant changes in meaning. Okay, for example, the word family. The word family may contain positive and negative meanings depending on the words associated or attached to it, just like these examples. Okay. Family values, hardworking families, holy family. These collocations contain positive meanings attached to the word family. But if you're going to attach other words with the word family, such as problem, dysfunctional, and single parent, these terms may add negative meaning to the word family. So the meaning has been changed depending on the words being attached or associated to it. Another example for territories, we also have the terms disputed territories and occupied territories. And the meanings being attached to the word territory can change depending on the words that you attach to territory. So it could be disputed or occupied, and they infer different meanings, so depending on the context being used. So let's proceed to the transitivity in SFL. In SFL transitivity analysis, there are three categories can be identified, which are process, participants, and circumstances. Those circumstances are optional. So each category has a number of subcategories. As for CDA, it is concerned when realized in this course, this is a focus of analysis in the critical evaluation of content and ideology. Writers' choices of transitivity patterns are ideologically oriented rather than neutral choices, and there are underlying intentions and motives why a writer chooses his words to convey. And for the group and clauses, Fairclough extends lexical analysis to demonstrate how these constructed nominal groups are used at clause level to shift the responsibility of political action away from himself or the government and onto supposed global forces in his analysis of Tony Blair's speech. So he identified these words related to the shift of those responsibilities. So we have the modern world, the new global economy, the new world and new economic order. And for case study, a political speech. So Fairclough was almost certainly the first critical discourse analyst to address the significant fact that education in Britain has increasingly adopted a market-oriented discourse. Molderig, using SFL influence corpus analysis, investigated the grammar of government white papers on education, commenting on the use of managerial discourse. And we also have Mautner studied the discourse around the keywords related to the idea of the entrepreneurial university, addressing the changing relationship between universities and business worldwide. So according to the analysis, money now moves around the globe at the touch of a button, and sums are huge. The role of higher education in securing economic competitiveness, the wider role of higher education in knowledge economy, nor is this role limited to science and technology sectors. Innovation in the arts is crucial to business competitiveness, and this critical role places a special responsibility on higher education institutions to forge links and business. So these are just some of the examples on how we can use systemic functional linguistics in critical discourse studies. So that's the end of my discussion, and I hope that you have learned something from this video presentation. Thank you very much for watching.